At the beginning of my career, I was hyper focused on my personal productivity. And I turned myself into a person that could be, productive. That requires consistency, discipline, things of that nature. I had this faulty mental map though, which is that I needed to be responsible for all of the outcomes and results. So I didn't come to the awareness until really recently that everything rises and falls on leadership. And you can actually, if you ever want to do anything really big and meaningful that has a big impact, you're going to need people. And it's going to be through other people. And it's actually easier to grow through other people than it is on your own efforts. And so whatever you're building, whether it's you're building your resale business, you're building your creative side, right? You're building an organization, it's going to require leadership. So we got to get clear on what actually leadership is and what it isn't. Here's what it looked like on my own, right? When I was high in production, here's our accountability chart. People like to call these organizational charts. I like to call them accountability charts because who's accountable for what? So when we were active selling real estate, doing 150, 200 deals, you have the visionary, which is me, Carla's the integrator, right? And then there was a breakdown of like who was responsible for what. So I was responsible for the R&D of ideas, creative problem solving, major relationships in terms of sales, culture, selling, right? And then we had agents that were on the team. They were listing agents. And then the operations side, right? We had an executive administrative assistant, that's Lori. We had our listing coordinator, transaction coordinator, and we had Gabriella, look at her, there you go. Yeah, she was there. I remember hearing Mr. Wonderful, that he only invests in companies that are run by women. I thought that was interesting. And somebody asked him why, and he said that they're better at like allocating resources and they typically have less ego. So if you notice all of my operations staff, because they're really good at that stuff and they can keep me in the gift, right? And then we also had, some kind of outsourced third-party vendors that served as kind of fractional CFO, right? So we were using CTE at the time. How many people have used CTE before? Okay, some people use CSU. It's a mechanism that allows, which for EXP, it's included. Yay. It's a dashboard software where you can plug everything in and you can see rolling cash flows. You can see, what your team is doing, if they're on track, what's going on. We had SBS Solutions, which is a bookkeeping company. How many people have bookkeepers? Good, okay. Everybody should consider having that because they will give you P&Ls every single month and let you know what's going on. The reason why we like SBS Solutions is because it was founded by people who are real estate and operating in real estate at a high level. So they understand our business, right? Inside and out. And then we had an accountant, right? So this was me driving the vast majority of the results because in this model, let me ask you a question. If this guy's not here, what happens?
Slack.
Slack is right? It slacks off, right? Now, what that produced though, $40 to $50 million in volume, 202 transactions with 8 people, 70 plus hours of work, a week, that sort of thing. So this was on my own, operating from this thing like, hey, I need to be the one that drives everything. Now, here's what's really wild. It's actually easier to grow through others than it is your own efforts. So there's 447, agents in the organization, 1,141 transactions. The most I ever did on my own was 202. $578 million worth of volume. The most I ever did on my own was like 50. Why? People. Do you see? Magnified by multiples because of adding people, right? On track to do over $1 billion in volume. And what's beautiful is I'm not involved in those transactions. Yay. Hey, Adelis, you got your largest rev share check today?
Woo!
How much was it?
$1,330.
How cool. Hey, she literally opened up her phone today. I was sitting over there. She opened it up. She goes, oh! I was like, what is it? She's like, I just made $1,000 so I'm sitting in Sedona. I'm like, yeah, Now, meanwhile, it took me like maybe a year or longer to have her partner with us. So what's the core premise of this? If you are going to get involved in leadership, you have to really be clear on what's your leadership motive. Because most people, truthfully, get involved in leadership for the wrong reason. Okay? There's 2 motives that you can have as a leader. One is a reward-centered leader. That leader is only interested in leading because of the perks that it comes with, the status that it comes with, and the admiration from others. Anybody know a leader like that? Anybody ever worked in an office with a manager like that? Or an owner like that? Yeah, that's their motive. A responsibility-centered leader is a leader that recognizes that, if you're going to bring people to something, it's actually a responsibility and your duty to serve them, not them serve you. So you'll notice some of you guys will be like, hey, I want to bring people over so they can do this for me. And I'm always constantly correcting you. This is why. Now, I didn't come up with this. This comes from a magnificent book called The Motive. If you're interested at all in being a leader, read the book, The Motive, and you should read it probably once a year because it will help you to course correct if you ever veer off in terms of your motive. And I'll just give you a brief synopsis, but I definitely want you to read the book. It's a kind of parable of these two separate leaders. One is a guy named Shay. Shay is prideful, self-focused, petty, jealous, competitive, reluctant to ask for help, and judgmental. I'm noticing some nodding of heads. Anybody know a leader like that? Shay he's a reward-centered leader. He sees leadership and its perks as a reward for hard work. So if you see leadership as a reward for hard work, how do you interact with those that you lead? Yeah, like, I'm good. I don't got time for that. How else? Hey, your problems are your problems, buddy. Mm-hmm. I don't care what's happening in your personal life. Mm-hmm. I hire grown-ups here.
I did it, so you should be able to do it too.
Yes, I did it, so you should be able to do it too. Now, Liam is the other leader, right, in this parable, and he's really the complete opposite. He is humble, focused on others, collaborative, seeks to help, and he's ambitious. Now, does anybody know the difference between being competitive and ambitious? So for a long time, I don't know, I still am, but like primarily my focus in leadership, I was just wildly competitive. And most of you guys in this room are very competitive, right? But competitive is about like just getting a particular outcome at all costs, right? Being ambitious means that I'm open to learning new things, trying new things. And I remember the example was given was who's the guy who, it's in the NFL series, he's a quarterback, Kirk Cousins. He's competitive, right? Super competitive. And it was interesting, they were interviewing him and he was in his trophy room and he pulled out a letter that his coach wrote to him and he was reading it and he was like, yeah, that's still me. He hasn't changed at all. And then they look at somebody like Mahomes. Mahomes is ambitious, bro. Bro, have you seen some of the throws? He doesn't care. Like, oh, this works? Cool, let's do it, right? Who's won more championships? Mahomes. Who has more fun playing? You ever watch that? One is like, right? The other was like, yeah, dude, let's go. Like, we're just having fun, right? He's slinging it out there. So Liam's motive for leadership is responsibility-based. He sees it as a responsibility to serve those that he leads, okay? And this is hard because we grow up in an environment, particularly culturally, that deals with everybody transactionally. I'll only help you if you help me or if there's some benefit to me in some way. Do not be a leader unless you do it for the right reason. Now, you're in this room, you came to the leadership retreat, either because you already see yourself as a leader or somebody here sees you as a leader and is looking to cultivate your leadership ability. Do not be a leader unless you do it for the right reasons. Okay? If it's only for rewards, probably don't do it. Right? Because it's not about what you can get, it's about what you can give. And a lot of you guys come to me like strategically and you're asking like, oh, well, how can I help you? I'm like, bro, just give them things. Give them information to help them to get the results. Give them your time. You know how powerful the powerful presence is? Bro, I've been on calls with lots of people, some of them in this room, where there's tears. And we're talking about something that has nothing to do with business. That's what leaders do. So what is your leadership motive? Are you interested in leading only for the status, the prestige, the attention, and the rewards? Or are you leading with what you can give? How you can help people resolve conflict, how you can impact others, and how you can add value to them. Now, I thought that this concept from the book was very interesting. So if we say the word chief executive officer, that's like a noun, right? But if we change that and we say chief executing officer, that's a verb because we're executing, we're doing something, yes? A verb implies action. Yeah, and the leader's involved in the executing. So here's the wild question, and we're just gonna do a quick little poll because I'm curious. What are the activities of a leader? Inspire, okay. Execute, motivate, accountability. I would say like some of these you're mentioning are actually management, they're not leadership. Accountability and making sure stuff gets done is management, it's not leadership. Allocating resources, human capital, financial capital, making decisions on what to do. What else? Okay, pivoting, like strategy. Influence, and influence is interesting because without influence, nobody does anything. And just so you know, influence doesn't come because people say, look at me, I'm so cool and look at my life. Influence comes when you pour into somebody, right? And you help them in a meaningful way. Influence is when I see her jump up for joy because she made $1,000 even though she fought me for 2 years. But influence is like working with Dan for 10 years. when he was living on his parents' couch making $30,000 a year and was like $50,000 in debt. That's influence, okay? So here's what's fascinating. As we go around the room, it's like this general, but we all actually we're not all saying the same things. And the reason is because we're not actually clear on what the job of a leader actually is. And that becomes problematic if you're attempting to be a leader, yes? What are the activities? The most activities of a leader, building any organization, I don't care what it is. It's your sales business, it's your creative business. Because let me ask you a question. In sales or in creative, are you gonna have to lead your staff? Yes. Are you gonna have to lead any agents that come with you? Yes. So whether it's sales, creative, or building an org, what are the most important tasks? So let me ask you guys, what do you think the most important activities are that you should be doing daily as a leader?
Checking.
Okay, checking in. I would say that's communicating, always going first. So I never ask you to do anything I don't do myself. Okay, good. Good, okay, so this is also interesting. Notice, everybody's not like, oh yeah, I know exactly what the most important activities are, okay? What if I told you one of the most important activities that you can do as a leader are meetings? Notice nobody said that. Let me ask you some questions about, how do you guys, like when I say the word meetings, like if you close your eyes for a second, everybody close your eyes. I say the word meetings, what pops up initially? Just go ahead and say it out loud.
Boring.
Hey, you know what's fascinating? And this is one of the most important activities of a leader. And all you guys are saying to me, I want to be leaders. And what's popping up is it's a waste of time and it's boring and I should be doing something else. Do you understand? I read this in the book and it's like hammered me over the head. The best way to see if a surgeon, teacher, or quarterback is good is to watch them during an operation, class, or a game. The best way to observe a leader is if they're great at their job is to watch them run a meeting. Hey, look at me. Is this a meeting? Yes. Look at all the different meetings. Third-party calls, coaching calls, lunch and learns, one-on-one calls, events. If you want to see the power, how good a leader is at their job, watch them run a meeting. Now think about this. You're supposed to be a leader and you're showing up at the call with the belief this is boring and a waste of time, when it's actually one of the most important things you could do as a leader. And these are all the examples. Weekly, how many people have been on that weekly group call that I do? Yeah, is that a good call? Okay. Lunch and learns, right? Third-party calls, checking in with agents to offer guidance because that's a one-on-one conversation. These are meetings, guys. And look at the different meetings that we have. Look, this is the Do More Deal Summit. It's a meeting, it's the panel, right? Here's a group coaching call. That's a meeting. Here's a one-on-one call. That's a meeting. They're one of the most important parts of your job as a leader. Now, here's the question. With whatever meetings that you're running right now with your team or your org, how do you run them? Do you show up unprepared and wing it? Jose's like, yeah, right? Do I just like show up like, hey, do you actually spend time and prepare the topic? Are you intentional and purposeful about it? Do you make them playful and fun? How many people have been on my calls where I play music? Yeah. Call on people, because have you ever noticed in crowds, most people don't want to offer up a suggestion or raise their hand or say something?
Yeah.
Yes. You know what? Something I've learned recently, because we're doing so many meetings on Zoom in order to encourage interaction, is I'll be like, yo, everybody drop in the comments what you think. Little things, bro, that causes them to interact with you. So here's some leadership reflection questions for you to think of as a aspiring leader or a leader. Are your meetings fun? Do you enjoy them? What role are you playing during the meeting? What about meetings do you dislike the most? As a leader, do you feel meetings with your org is important or a waste of time? Now, the second most important activity of a leader is to manage. I would say like subordinates. I know that has a negative connotation. I mean like people, right? Like agents, let's say. Or your agents on your team or your staff, it's to manage them. But in order to do this, you have to be willing as a leader to call people out on their BS when they're not focused on what they should be doing. Anybody have like a problem kind of calling people out on stuff sometimes? All of you guys' hands should be raised. Because do you know who you call when you're having a problem? Me. Which, by the way, is my job as a, do you understand? Leaders constructively work through conflict. Leaders, when two people are fighting over something, gets on a call and works it out with them. Yes? Yes. And some of you here, I've done that. Okay? Now, this is really hard because as a leader, you have one of the most uncomfortable jobs in the whole organization because it's your job to work through conflict. And I promise you, the vast majority of everybody runs away from that like the plague, but it has to be done. Okay? And look, in caps, most people don't want to do this. Why do most people not want to do this? You know what I do regularly to kind of soften that? How many people have ever heard me say this me say this to you, either in a group or in an individual setting. I mean this with love. Hey, get ready.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah.
But that's a way to soften it, yes?
Sure.
Right? We had a conversation. I mean this with love, bro. And then bang. But that's how you can, constructively work through it, right? And it's important to recognize that as a leader, you actually have the most uncomfortable job. See, we think it's, look at the opposite in thinking. I think it's because of the perks. How many people have ever seen those stupid posts where they show like the guy getting out of like the Bentley and going into the private jet and like da-da-da? That's what we think leadership is. You know what leadership is when two people are fighting, you get on a call and you hash it out with them. That's what leadership is. You see the mixed messages that we get? Choosing to be a leader, listen to me, choosing to be a leader or the leader means that you're signing up for this job. Everybody is here in this room because they've made a commitment to leading, whatever that is, whether that's on your real estate teams and transaction volume, whether that's with building an organization. And we do 2 big events a year, right? We do the Do More Deals Summit, which was fire. Yes, clap it up for that. That was fire. The second event we do is this, which is a leadership retreat. This retreat is more intimate, it's private, and it's only for those that are committed to leveling up. We find ourselves halfway through the year, yes?